Peace, y'all. This is Malls once again, back with episode 4 of Break It On Down Now, my web series where I'm giving the history, the backstory, and breaking down some of the lyrics of the songs from my new album called Famous Last Words, produced entirely by Drugs Beats. Again, this is episode 4. So today we are going to be digging a little deeper on the track All Y'all. Check it out. All right, so, this one might be a short episode because, this one isn't such a super deep song. It's more me kind of popping shit a little bit. But there's a little bit of science behind it. So the beat for All Y'all, starting out with the beat, this was one of the first beats that I chose, one of the first batch of beats that Drug sent me. And, when he was playing me beats or whatever to put into the folder for me to go through, I knew I wanted this one just because it sounded like, it reminded me of like old cartoons when, somebody was being sneaky and trying to sneak behind someone or sneak away from someone. And it just kind of put me in that frame of mind. If you know me, I'm a big cartoon fan, like Looney Tunes, Tex Avery cartoons, the Fleischer Brothers cartoons, just all of that. So it just kind of made me think of that. And it was a little bit different, than what people are probably used to hearing me rap over, or, what people usually choose to rap over when they work with drugs. So I wanted that one because, it had a dope bop to it. And, it just made me think of that. It was just something a little bit different. So I wrote this one over a year ago, and I usually write the date that I start working on any verse that I write, whether it's going for a song or if it's just, messing around or whatever. I write the date on it just for myself, to keep a historical record for myself. I have nearly all of my rhyme pads going back to high school. So writing the date on them is something that I started maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, so I can know, like, okay, I remember when I wrote this, So I wrote it over a year ago, but for some reason I didn't write the date on this song when I was writing it. So I definitely know it was early in the creation process for the album. And we get into that first line, and I say, before I hang it up, I'm gonna show my ass. Now, if you bought the actual CD of Famous Last Words, if you copped the physical album, first of all, thank you so much. But if you read the liner notes, I tell you that this was supposed to be my last album. I had every intention on just calling it quits after this album, and I wanted this album to be just like, I don't know, like just a testament to the work. I wanted to be the culmination of everything that I've done to this point. And so I was like, okay, well, let me get a good old shit talking, like, let me just go ahead and just pop off and just write some just dope rhymes, like not even worry about a story, not worry about anything like that. Just give you some bars for one last time. It's not going to be my last album, but at the time, that was the plan. I wanted to go out talking shit, basically. So, in those first few lines, I go on to say about my business, but sometimes pleasure overlaps. And, I understand and I agree with not mixing business with pleasure, when it comes to certain aspects. But for me, part of business is also setting a goal and seeing that goal to fruition, seeing it through. So when you reach the finish line of your goal, and my goal was to create this album, getting to the finish line, hearing the final tracks, seeing that CD in my hand, getting it, seeing it on the streaming platforms or whatever, or even just writing the last rhyme and recording the last bar. It's like, oh man, like it's a rush you get, and it's a good feeling. So in the Venn diagram, that's where business and pleasure overlap. So it's not like a hard rule, like, no, you should never have fun. Of course you should have fun and enjoy the business that you're doing. And later on in the first half of that first verse, I say, There's more under the surface than whatever it seems like. And I'm just living my purpose, learning, constantly searching, because I swear to God, something about this shit ain't even right. That first part, there's more under the surface than whatever it seems like. For some reason, it was definitely prevalent early in my career, but I still get it today. A lot of people think that I'm just straight bars and that's it. Just like rap, 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 and just forward, straight ahead. I'm just gonna rap you into submission. And I'm not that. I'm way more than that. Even when I'm just barring out, I put things in the bars, references or whatever. So I don't know how people just started thinking that like, oh, this is just all I do. It's just, there's more under the surface, that I'm more about just, I'm just gonna rap this motherfucker's face off, and there you are with no fucking face because I rapped. I'm more about that. I'm more than about that, just in general, I like a lot of shit. I like to think I have a wide variety of tastes, as far as music, as far as just things that I'm into, movies that I like, books that I read, all that, So there's more under the surface. And I'm just living my purpose, learning, constantly searching. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I do feel like when you are on the right path and doing what you're supposed to be doing, things tend to fall into place. And as unlikely as it may seem, I feel to me that rap is my purpose. Like there's been plenty of times where, I think I said it in the last episode, there's plenty of times where I'm like, you know what, I'm done, I quit. And then something will happen, or I'll meet someone, or something happens where I'm like, okay, I'm not quitting. Like this opportunity came up, this person recognized me, I got this idea for a song or whatever, and it just keeps me going. So I do feel like, when you're walking in your purpose and walking on your path, like things manifest themselves. And that's what I feel like I've been doing in this career. So again, I'm writing this with the intention of this being one of my last rhymes I write. And, I'm always learning. I'm always trying to learn more about as much as I can. And I'm constantly searching for knowledge, whether it's, learning about music production, or learning about music history, or learning, I don't know, anything, fucking, sewing or whatever, just learning anything. I don't sew, by the way, but learning anything, I try to soak up as much knowledge as I can. And I'm not searching for perfection, because that's not anything that anyone can achieve, but I'm searching for my perfection. Something that I feel like, okay, at this moment in time, this is the very best that I can offer at this particular moment. You know what I mean? So I'm always striving to outdo what I've done in the past, and also perform at my optimum level in the present, so that's my perfection. And I'm always striving for that. So the rest of the verse is just me popping shit, just bars out. There's not a whole lot of science behind the last half or the last quarter of that verse. I'm just writing some fly shit. As I've said in the other episodes, probably every last one of the other episodes, I don't like writing hooks, and I don't think that it's my strong point. But for this one, I knew that I just wanted some kind of chant. The phrase is like, man, he gonna fuck it up for everybody, just came into my head. So I was like, I'll write it. I'm about to fuck it up for all y'all. And I was like, okay, what else can I say? No, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna repeat it. Just like how choruses were back in the day and stuff. It was just saying the name of the song over and over and over, 8 times or 4 times, So I'm about to fuck it up for all y'all, And for a long time, that was just it. It took me a while to complete the song, because I was like, there's got to be something else to go. Like, I just can't say, I'm about to fuck it up for all y'all, over and over and over. I wanted more. And then I was like, okay, well, I can I know some DJs, so I can get some DJs to put some cuts over it and just layer it that way so that there's not just, me just saying that there's cuts. Probably later on in the creation of the album, I reconnected with my man, me, Mark, who I was in a group with back in college. We were in a group called Secret Society. It was a bunch of us. And me and Mark was our producer. He was our DJ, and he also rhymed too. So since we had linked back up, we met each other 20 years ago, at East Carolina University. I was a sophomore. I think he was a junior, maybe a senior, or he might have graduated, but he was a little bit older than me. And so I just asked him, I was like, hey man, could you do some cuts on a couple of tracks? And this was one of the tracks that I sent him. And I just wanted not even like a scratch hook where it's like different parts of other songs put in to make a hook. I just wanted just some hoo-ha, just some noises to, cut and just add a layer to the chorus. And then when he sent it back and I heard the Slick Rick, I was like, oh, that's dope. I didn't even think about that, And the funny thing is he told me, yo, man, I'm out of practice. It's like, come on, man. I heard those cuts, man. Those cuts are dope. So adding the Slick Rick in there, for all of y'all, that was dope. It set it off lovely for the hook. And it added what I knew was missing, from the hook. So shout out to me, Mark, yo. So again, there's not a whole lot of science behind the song. It's mostly me popping shit. So I start out the second verse, where the last verse ended of me popping shit. So I'm immune to the sucker shit. From the looks of things, you can't get enough of it. And then I go into my album budget is something these cats are covered in. They ain't never put nothing in, but they want you to fuck with it. And that was just me complaining, really. It sounded fly, but I'm really just complaining. And it's not even about my album. It's just about how a lot of people feel in the music space in general, cross genres, because I've seen it other places too, how a lot of artists feel entitled. And they just feel like people should fuck with them just because. I'm dope, so fuck with me. So there's a million other dope people that are dope at the exact same thing that you're dope at. Why should we fuck with you? And that's like that person who, nobody from the scene, in their area gets down with their music or goes to their shows, but they also don't go to anyone's shows and they don't check out anyone else's music. That's not how... You're constantly taking from the game, from the culture, from the scene, but you're not giving anything back. And it could be given back in the form of mentorship. It could be given back in just showing up. Somebody got a show. All right, I'm there. Obviously not in these COVID times, but, pre-COVID and, hopefully post-COVID, showing up, coming through, buy a verse from somebody, buy a beat from someone. Buy a merch, a t-shirt like this. Shout out to my man Finsta of Finsta Bundy for the t-shirt. You know what I mean? So it's giving back to the scene, giving back to the culture, giving back to the game. That was just kind of complaining about that sense of entitlement. And, when you're like, hey, I'm working on an album, and then you get people out of the woodworks that's like, yo, let me get on it. For what? What is that going to do for you? So that was just me complaining in what I'd like to think would be a cool way. So I finish up that train of thought with none of it makes sense. They tested my patience, but I'm older now, so I spread love like Take 6. And that's, obviously a shout out to the group Take 6 from the 90s who had that song Spread Love that Mark 45 King made this super dope loop with. And it was one of my favorite things, just so dope. And then the lines after that, for the most part, I avoid crowds entirely, but if it's live, then I'm up in that bitch like an IUD. And if you get nothing else from this series, you will learn that I am an introvert, so I don't really go out a whole lot like that. So for the most part, I avoid crowds. I'm not really trying to be around a whole bunch of people, and that's me being an introvert, but that's also my anxiety. I just feel real anxious, so I try to just not even go there a lot of times. But if it's an event, or if it's something that's just really dope, like, I swallow that and I eat that, and I just go and enjoy it. So honest and little factoid, I gave myself a little personal grief for that up in that bitch like an IUD line, just because I don't really say bitch like that in that context. I just say anything's a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like this phone that I'm talking into this bitch. You know what I mean? So I gave myself a hard time, and literally no one was like, Malls, I can't believe you said bitch in that way. So, again, that's me being in my own head and making things way harder than it really is or has to be, but that's just the Malls way, I guess. My next couple of lines is, but for real, I'm just underpaid and over anxious with the potential for greatness as motivation. Dummies think success is measured by who's hating, but I just ain't never made that correlation. A lot of people get into music, they get into whatever art they're doing, they get into a lot of things because they're chasing the fame, they're chasing the money, they're chasing the attention from the opposite or the same sex. They're chasing something. Me, I'm chasing greatness. I've always been inspired and motivated by the greatness of others. I'm into sports, so I was big on Michael Jordan. Muhammad Ali is my favorite boxer, even though I wasn't old enough to watch him. I've seen tapes of him. Just anyone who had a great story of overcoming something and just being great, despite all the odds, like that motivates me. And that's what pushes me to be better than the last thing that I put out, to make this rhyme that I'm working on right now better than any rhyme I've written before is that push for greatness. It's kind of like a self-motivator. I don't look at other people and like, oh, okay, that dude's doing that, I'm about to beat him, If anything, I look at somebody and say, yo, that person's doing that, yo, that's dope. All right, I got to get on my job, because I'm trying to push myself to be great. And this idea of having haters being a badge of honor has never made sense to me. Like, and if I do have haters, I don't know it, because I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. So if there's anybody out there that got beef with me, I promise you I don't know it, and you're participating in the beef by yourself. Sorry. Like, it just never made sense that, people were like, yeah, I got all these haters, all these people hating on me. Like, if everyone's hating on you, that, I don't know, you might be the asshole, but that never moved me, to have haters. I ain't saying everybody gotta love me or even be indifferent, it's just I don't put any energy into that. And so the last 4 lines, the vibration is real if you could get a line and join me after the rat race at the finish line. Because I've been focused since the first moment I penned a line, knowing it could all be over in a minute's time. Again, writing this with the idea that this is my last joint, so it's kind of a farewell. And I knew this song was gonna go early on the album, so it was kind of an early farewell. But it's also acknowledging, in light of my numerous near-death experiences, my most recent being 2 years ago, it put into perspective how short life is. I am almost 40 right now, and I feel like I was just 13. Like, I feel like I can vividly remember being a teenager and not fully grown yet, physically, mentally, emotionally, or anything like that. But now you see the grays in my beard, my hairline ain't where it was when I was 13. It goes by so quick, and having that experience 2 years ago, it really put a lot of things into perspective of like, yo, you could be gone just in an instant. And so that's another reason why it's like, all right, no wasted motion. I've been focused since the first moment I penned a line. It's obviously hyperbole, but still, when I was coming up rhyming, by the time I got into high school and I started to meet other guys who rapped that weren't in my that I didn't grow up with. Like there was a guy named Jay. He went by the name Saga, and him and this other guy named Damien, who went by Profile, they like put me through rap boot camp, and they put the idea in my head of like, do not waste a line. Like I would spit my little rap to them. I didn't know about bars, so it would be like, 43 bars or something. And I, say my little rap to them, and they'll go back and nitpick everything. And they say, what did that line mean? When you said this, what did that mean? Why did you say that? So I'm all about being efficient and no wasted motion. So I've been focused since the first moment I penned a line, knowing it could all be over in a minute's time. And, with this album, I definitely wanted to get out everything that I wanted to say, anything that I hadn't said before, anything that I had said before that I just didn't elaborate on, I wanted to make sure that it was in this album. So that's pretty much it, man. Episode 4 in the books. So I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you haven't done so before, make sure you like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely going to be new episodes every week, every Tuesday. Famous Last Words, produced entirely by Grammy-nominated producer Drugs Beats, is available everywhere. I'll have some links down in the description below. I point it down again. You know what the description on YouTube is. I have some links where you can listen to that and support that down below. Again, Famous Last Words, everywhere you get music, man, everywhere. Again, shout out to my man Finsta. Shout out to Drugs Beat. Shout out to everybody who's still watching. You know what I mean? Everybody who's subscribed to the channel so far. I thank you. I see you. And it's so appreciated. So we catch you on the next time, man.
And don't you ever fix your mouth to say some dumb shit for clout, because you know what I'm about now. Yeah.